Hi, I'm Danny Lipford.
And I'm Chelsea Lipford-Wolf.
Thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a like and a comment.
And be sure to share with a friend, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified of new videos.
Thanks and enjoy the show. This house is going on the market, but we're about to make some small changes that'll make it worth a lot more.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford, the voice of home improvement, with projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
It's not uncommon for a homeowner to decide to sell their house and realize they have a few things to finish before they can put their house on the market. Now, these homeowners have done a great job in updating most of the house, but they've saved this area for last because they had some very ambitious plans for this area, including raising the ceiling and tearing out a large section of the wall to tie it in to the adjacent den. But a lot of times those dollars spent just won't come back to you when you sell your house. So we're making some very realistic, practical recommendations for this room that will guarantee they'll get their money back. Some of those ideas are replacing the front door with a newer door and one with a little more glass for natural light into this area, and also have a few repairs that kind of a red flag here to a buyer with a big crack that runs all the way down the room. We'll be repairing that as well as finishing the paint job, crown molding, dressing up this large front feature window with some trim, replacing the floor. But one of our challenges is figuring out exactly what to do with this old, out-of-date fireplace that, strangely enough, has never even been used. Now, all of these little ideas that we're going to share with you this week are things that you can do around your house to improve the value, and I know it'll help these homeowners get the most for their dollar when they put that for sale sign out front. I love this kind of remodeling project where you can make such a difference in a short amount of time and without spending a whole lot of money. Now, for us to get started, we'll need to remove the rest of the furniture that the homeowners haven't moved out of the house yet, and we'll have to get rid of this old stained carpet. Then we can attack this ugly fireplace. Here we go, Tim. Once the furniture is cleared out, we can go to work on the carpet. This stuff has been down on these floors for years, so it's full of stains and odors. Now, that's not what you want a prospective buyer to see and smell when they come to look at a house. Now, since the carpet is in such bad shape, we know it won't be reused, so we can be pretty much ruthless with it. And because we don't plan on putting down more carpet, the tack strip around the walls are coming up too. In business, they say eliminate your liabilities and protect your assets, so that's exactly what we're doing. The carpet goes, but the laminate flooring in the dining area and the tile at the entryway are stained, so Tim's covering them up to prevent any damage while we're working. Now, before we can set new trim around the window, the old window stool has to be removed. That proves to be a bigger chore than expected. Now, over on the fireplace, we're only removing part of the raised hearth, so Tim starts breaking bricks just to the left of the firebox. If anything dates this home, it's these long, old, funky bricks. Seeing them go is a real pleasure. Well, we thought of a number of ways to improve the look of our ugly fireplace we have in here, and what we've decided is to cover all of the bricks with drywall. So we have a few sheets of drywall ready to go, and we plan on covering every bit of it except for just a small margin right around the firebox itself and the hearth, and we'll cover that up with a ceramic that we used in other parts of this house. There you go. Now, when you're covering masonry with drywall, usually you're dealing with an outside wall like this or a basement wall. In those cases, it's so important to put a vapor barrier up first, like a 6mm plastic, then come back with some type of furring strip, like a 1x4 that you would nail or screw to the masonry wall itself. Then you can install your drywall over that. But here we have a different situation. This is an interior wall. The back side of the fireplace is also an interior wall, so we don't have any worries at all about masonry. So we're going to use a trick to attach the drywall that a drywall finisher shared with me a few years ago that works perfect in a situation just like this. Once the first piece is measured and cut to size, we flip it over and start plopping down globs of ordinary drywall joint compound on it. Basically, we're using the joint compound as glue to hold the board in place once we lift it up on the wall. But like most adhesives, it won't hold immediately, so Tim and I are adding just a few masonry nails to keep it in position until the joint compound dries. takes a lot of this stuff to make one of these boards stick, but the beauty is the drywall mud is pretty inexpensive, and it's really effective because it's designed to make a permanent bond with the wallboard anyway. The biggest challenge to this job is driving all of these nails into the mortar instead of into studs. After Tim cuts out the firebox opening, he measures and cuts out the space around it where the tile will be installed. Then our drywall finishing guru, Mark, stops by to smooth out the joints and fill in the nail holes. At this point, this is just like finishing any drywall surface. Lots of mud and lots of patience.
I knew putting this drywall up over these bricks would make this room seem a lot larger, and it's definitely done that. And Mark's almost finished with all of the drywall finishing. What you got left, Mark?
Just finish up the angles and we're sanding and we're done.
Well, before he leaves though, one other thing he's going to take care of for us is a problem that a lot of homeowners have with their homes. We know that because we get a lot of emails and questions about what to do with a crack running right down the middle of a room. Well, when we come back, Mark's going to share with you some ideas and some techniques on how to take care of a problem like that right after our simple solution.
It's time for this week's Simple Solution from home repair expert Joe Truini.
This is one of those small annoyances that can happen in any home regardless of its age. That's the sound of an ill-fitting door rattling within the frame. Now sometimes that'll happen when the wind's blowing through the house or even when someone just walks right past the door. Now the reason that happens is that the spring-loaded lock that slips into this strike plate is not making contact with the metal tab that you see inside there. So all you need to do to fix the problem is reach inside with a screwdriver and straighten that tab out, bend it in a little bit. Now you want to be careful not to pry too much because these screws are relatively short and you don't want to split the jamb. If you need to, you can remove the strike plate and straighten out that tab with a hammer. But okay, now let's try it. If we need to, we can always try straighten it a little bit more, but let's see if that works. There you go. You have a nice tight fitting door, and now when the wind blows, you won't hear a thing.
We are right in the middle of an interior renovation in this room that we're really making some very simple changes that are making a big difference in the overall look. One thing we've done here that's working out great is to install drywall over this wall of this old out-of-date bricks, and later we'll really dress out the fireplace with a little ceramic tile. But Mark, our drywall finisher, is handling something right now that a lot of people have problems with, and that's a large crack right down the middle of a room. Now, the reason for a crack like this is, in this case, the house is about 50 years old, so probably a little settlement has taken place and expansion and contraction that will cause this to happen. But Mark's dealt with this before, so Mark, what are you going to do to make this disappear? What's the best way to handle this?
I'll tell you what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go back through here and put caulking because it's obvious that somebody had done that before, and here I am fixing it again. So what we're going to do today is I like to go through and I like to score it or scrape it off with my 6-inch knife, get anything loose, any loose paint or any loose plaster.
Right.
And then from there I'm going to use a mesh tape. I prefer it over paper tape. It sticks, but when I mud it, the mud goes directly to the plaster, to the surface. It holds a lot better, and I've had a lot of good success with it over the years.
I guess if any of it's loose, you would really have to put some screws in. And I know in this case, this is a type of plaster, so it's pretty rigid, but with drywall, sometimes you have to put a few screws in there.
Absolutely. Sometimes with sheetrock, you definitely have to put some screws, maybe get up somewhere and put some dead wood behind it.
I see.
But for a plaster ceiling, I found that I do prefer the mesh tape over the paper. No air can get behind it, behind the mesh, like it does with paper, and I don't have to come back.
All right, great. We'll go ahead and let you take care of that. Let me know if I can help you anyway.
Yeah, right.
Mark knows mudding drywall is not one of my favorite jobs, but truthfully, using his advice, almost any do-it-yourselfer could tackle this job. A couple of drywall knives, a pan, some joint compound, and that mesh tape, you're in business. But with that said, sometimes it's just nice to sit back and watch a pro work. They make it look so easy, and no doubt they get it done a lot faster than I would. It's also pretty hard to argue with the kind of results Mark gave us on this ceiling repair.
Let's see, Tim, looks like we're gonna need a 10-footer for that one. Well, our drywall finishing is all complete. Now we can move into the trim stage, and we're gonna make a big difference in this room for not a whole lot of money. One of the things we'll be doing is dressing out this window with smooth wood here, casing around the perimeter of the window, a new wider window sill, a little apron on the bottom. That'll make that whole window look a lot better. We also have a little base molding we have to put in here and there. We'll also be putting in a wood mantle that will dress up the old ugly fireplace, and we'll be continuing the crown molding that we have in the dining room right on out into this main area. Now, the way we did this crown molding is about the easiest way you can possibly imagine to install crown, because we use these little decorative corners. Then you're able to just cut the crown molding with regular square cuts. You don't have to do any kind of mitering on it. And that's real important when you get to the outside corners like we have here, because that's really difficult to some homeowners, for some homeowners to cut in around a corner. Here, you can just cut it square and butt it right into these little pieces. Plus, like I say, kind of a decorative element to it. Actually, installing crown molding this way is so easy, I think even Tim can do it.
Ordinarily, installing crown molding involves making precise mitered or coat cuts in the corners and careful placement of each piece so these joints will line up properly with the next piece. But these corner blocks couldn't be easier. You just nail them in place and then make ordinary square cuts on pieces of crown to fill in between them. Plus, the job also goes a lot quicker this way, and that's almost always an issue when you're trying to sell a house. Now, a new paint job is another thing that many homes get just before it goes on the market. And the key here is choosing a color that will appeal to everyone, not just your taste. The conservative approach is also a good idea when you're selecting things like this mantle kit. The owners found this one online for a little over $100, and it's the perfect addition to the fireplace and the room.
As you can see, Tim's putting a coat of paint on our brand new mantle kit that we installed, and this is the last little bit of painting that we have to do before we attack this big stack of flooring. Now, the flooring will put us one step closer to having this house ready to go on the market. But first, check out this week's best new product.
Let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's best new product.
One of the things that homeowners rarely think about is the fact that over time, water supply hoses in your home can become very brittle and burst, leaving you with a mess and other problems, including water damage and possibly mold. Now, this is the Watts Flood Safe Auto Shutoff Connector, and it's designed to protect your home from water damage caused by burst, broken, or ruptured water supply hoses and fittings. Basically, it's a flexible stainless steel hose with a built-in shutoff device on the inlet. Water going through the unit is limited to a factory preset rate of flow. If the water exceeds that rate of flow, the device assumes there's a rupture and the flow of water is shut off. Now, this really makes a lot of sense for things like, say, washing machines or dishwashers that you use all the time. Now, installing the connector is very, very easy. You just turn off the water supply at the shutoff valve and replace the old hose with the new one, placing the flood safe device at the end near the shutoff valve. Then you can slowly turn the water back on and use the fixture as you normally would. Now, great peace of mind for just a few bucks. Hey, we're back out on our interior renovation, and we're just about to install a ton of laminate floor to get us a step closer to having this house ready to put on the market. You know, when you're doing any kind of interior renovation, flooring is usually the one thing that costs the most, especially when you have a fairly large area like this. But many homeowners are finding that laminate floor is so easy to install, they can save a lot of money by doing it themselves. Now, this particular floor looks very much like real wood, but it is a plastic laminate material and has a little snap lock on one edge, makes it very easy to install without any adhesive or glue, and it has this backing attached to each piece. This is kind of a sound deadening barrier so that as you walk across the floor, it doesn't make quite as much sound as it might, but very easy to install and won't take long for us to continue the floor that was installed several months ago in this little dining area, and we'll carry it right on across the rest of the living room. But first, we have to put down a vapor barrier to make sure no moisture finds its way up through the slab.
If this house were built on a wood floor system, the vapor barrier wouldn't be necessary. But since it's concrete, we're using a little spray adhesive to hold the plastic in place while we work. The tongue side of the new piece locks into the groove side of the existing flooring, and we're off and running. As you reach a wall, you measure the space, cut a piece to fit, and snap it right into place. Now, that seems easy enough, but there's a few other rules you have to follow. This kind of floor floats, so you have to leave a small gap of about a 1/4 inch between the floor and the wall, which is later covered by molding. Now, otherwise, when the material expands, it will warp or bow. We also discovered it works best to line up the short side of the planks, then snap the long sides together so you can work your way across the floor. Of course, we had to buy exactly the same material that was used here before, so all of this would work. But that was fairly easy since the owners saved an extra box of the flooring. Now, it cost a little less than $4 per square foot for the materials, but the real beauty is that because it's so do-it-yourself friendly, you don't have to pay for installation, which is typically at least half the cost of a flooring project.
Boy, our laminate floor looks great. And the good thing about it, completely finished. We don't have to worry about any stain or sealer. Now, our next task is to replace the existing front door. And what we have in mind is a fiberglass door so that it's very weather resistant, but it's stained to look like real wood. And it has a large oval pane of glass in it that'll allow a lot of natural light to flood right into the foyer. We're gonna head down to the home center and see what they have.
There's a huge variety of these low-maintenance fiberglass doors, but when we look closer, a large oval window seemed a little too formal for this house. What we settled on was a narrow arch design that seemed to complement the home pretty well. Now, this is a pre-hung door unit, so Tim has to remove the old door casing and the old jamb before we can install the new one. Now, you can buy the door alone, which is commonly called a slab, but it often has to be ordered special and cost as much or more than a pre-hung unit. Now, while Tim is working on the door, the tile setter shows up and starts wrapping the fireplace. Well, we bought a single black tile and cut it into a keystone pattern for the surround, but besides that $2 purchase, everything else was left over from tiling the entryway a few months back. Now, back over there, the door is in, and the only detail left is installing the door hardware.
Boy, I'm not even sure I can use a regular screwdriver anymore. I use these cordless tools so much. Well, what do you think? We have a brand new door unit. Really looks great. It was all pre-finished with all the stain on it, so it saved us a lot of time, but also saved us a fair amount of money. The homeowners had set aside $500 to buy the door, and we were able to buy the door and have enough money left over to buy a brand new lock set. You know, you just hate to put an old tarnished lock back on a brand new door, so putting a brand new lock set in there really made a difference both inside and out. Hey, another thing you need to think about, if you're doing the same thing here, take an older key with you, have the new lock keyed the same way, and that way you don't end up with all those keys on your key ring. Hey, when we come back, right after our Around the Yard segment, we'll show you all the changes we made to this area that made a big difference in how it looks, and I guarantee you it'll make it a lot easier to sell this house.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley.
Every homeowner wants their home to be safe and secure. Certainly one way to do this is by installing lighting. Now, we have a floodlight here in this eave, and that is great. But something that would make it even better is to have a motion detector sensor. That way, if there's any movement out here, that will pick it up. We have carriage lights that we have at our front doors, and in paths, sometimes we have path lighting. Something that is also a really good idea is to have low voltage lighting at the sides or in the riser of your stairs. That way the treads are illuminated and people aren't going to trip going up and down. Something that a lot of people overlook is the effect of their greenery around the outside of their house. This is a beautiful azalea, but look how it's hiding this window. If we cut this down just a little bit, it's going to let more light go into the room. It's going to make the window visible from the outside, and it is going to increase the safety because then there won't be any place for an intruder to obscure themselves. So think about that around your house, give those a trim, and increase your security.
Man, I love it when we complete a project, especially one that's turned out like this. It just seemed like everything came together in less than 2 weeks. And I can't believe that this wall looks as good as it does now because it had that ugly brick on it. This is one of my favorite parts of this project.
The old bricks that were here not only dated the room, but they made this end of it real dark and heavy. The new fireplace has a much more contemporary feel, and covering the bricks with drywall has done wonders for the whole place. Adding the trim around the feature window and extending the crown molding throughout the area has raised the level of finish. But without a doubt, the most striking change was extending the laminate floors from the dining room all the way through the living room. And that new door out front should bring in plenty of prospective buyers.
Now, all of the work that we completed in this room was all done so that we could get this out in the front yard. Now, not only have we made this whole house a lot more appealing to a prospective buyer, we've increased the value of the home. I'm Danny. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to comment, like, and hit the bell icon so that we can notify you when new videos are posted.
And don't go anywhere, click around and continue the home improving fun.